Good morning. It's 8:30. I'm Karen Brown, and this is Mississippi Edition on MPB Think Radio. On today's show, we'll have the very latest on a Corinth man accused of sending poisoned mail to Senator Wicker and President Obama. Then, how the Gulf is still recovering 3 years after a massive oil spill. Plus, how one financial institution is giving kids hope for their financial futures.
It's really been fun to see kids saving their pennies, opening their piggy banks, and taking them up to our telecounters and making deposits.
That's all coming up. This is Mississippi Edition on MPB Think Radio. This is Mississippi Edition on MPB Think Radio. I'm Karen Brown. Hope Credit Union and the Hope Enterprise Corporation have a mission. It's to serve what they call the unbanked and underbanked population of Mississippi. Hope CEO Bill Bynum says almost 25% of white Mississippians are unbanked or underbanked. Among African Americans, that number is even higher. More than 6 out of 10 black Mississippians don't have a bank account. Bynum says to change that trend, you have to teach kids when they're young. That's why his organization is working with a group of Jackson preschoolers to teach them the importance of saving for college.
We are working with the city of Jackson, with the Mississippi Assets Coalition, with Delta State, the Corporation of Enterprise Development, to try to promote savings among children in Mississippi.
All right. What age are you targeting?
We've so far been working with kids in the City of Jackson's child care centers. These are 3-4-year-olds.
And you're teaching 3- and 4-year-olds how to save money?
Well, I don't think you can ever start too early. It's really been fun to see kids saving their pennies, opening their piggy banks, and taking them up to our telecounters and making deposits.
Give us an idea of how you teach such small children the concept of saving.
Well, as is often the case, things start at home, and they start with their teachers. And the teachers have been implementing a curriculum that's been designed by experts from around the country and helping them to understand how savings adds up over time, and trying to get some fundamental understanding of how interest accumulates, what interest is and how it accumulates. And the sooner you start, the more it builds over time, and what they can do with the pennies that eventually become dollars. And several of them are really excited about the possibilities.
I would think that a 3- or 4-year-old and even a 5-, 6-, 7-, 8-year-old, if you held out a handful of candy and said, you can spend your pennies on this, or you can put them in this piggy bank, that 9 out of 10 times they're going to choose the candy.
Well, I suspect you're right. Sometimes adults would make that same choice.
True.
But I think the beauty of this program is to, again, introduce them to some of the basic concepts of money, of savings, of building assets.
Tell us what the words banked and unbanked mean.
Well, it's a very important concept, particularly here in the state of Mississippi. Banked is, as you would imagine, you have an account at a financial institution, at a depository such as Hope, or a bank, and you have access to the tools that institution offers. But a lot of people in Mississippi are unbanked or underbanked, for that matter. And if you're unbanked, then you don't have an account. A large percentage of the Mississippi population is unbanked. And
do you have any idea of what the percentage might be of those who are unbanked?
In Mississippi, almost 40%.
Wow.
38.7% of the population is either unbanked or underbanked. And if you're underbanked, you may have an account, but you're still reliant. You regularly go to a check casher or a payday lender and pay exorbitant fees and prices for basic financial services. And so you've got almost 40% of Mississippians.
That's incredible.
Who are unbanked or underbanked. It's the highest concentration in the country.
And a vulnerable population, as you said, that are falling prey to these exorbitant rates.
That's true, and it's something that we have worked over the years to try to mitigate in the state. We've had good conversations with members of the legislature, but we still have a ways to go before Mississippi gets off of the bottom in terms of charging the highest rates in the South for small dollar loans.
For instance, what? If someone just wants to cash their paycheck, what is that costing them?
It costs them at least a $5 fee, and when you're talking about a small check, and it's a percentage of the check often, and so that goes up as the amount of the check is higher. But what we're really trying to promote, and we're trying to start early with these kids, is get people into a relationship with a financial institution that will charge you reasonable rates for basic financial services, and that as you are able to take advantage of opportunities, if you need to buy a car, if you're when you save and are able to buy a home or want to start a small business, then you have a relationship that you with an institution that is there for you and willing to help you to take that next step.
Do you also think that people maybe don't have a bank account or are with a credit union with some kind of financial account because when they get that paycheck, they have to pay bills. They're behind on bills. And so that cash is going out immediately?
Uh,
Or is there a mistrust of financial institutions?
I think it's all of that, and if you look at certain populations, you see a higher concentration of people who are outside the financial system. For example, as I said, 40%, almost 40% of Mississippians are outside the system. Among white Mississippians, that's about 24.7, almost a quarter of white Mississippians. When you look at African Americans, it's 64%, 6 out of 10, more than 6 out of 10 black Mississippians are either unbanked or underbanked. And you look at the demographic trends in Mississippi and across the South. Last year, over half of children less than age 18 were non-white. And so we're increasingly becoming a state where a large percentage of the population don't have the basic tools that they need to navigate our economic system.
We're also a very rural state, and maybe people don't have access to that financial institution.
It has been really disheartening to see how many banks are getting out of retail banking and are leaving some of the smaller towns, rural towns. For example, last year, Hope opened a branch in Utica, Mississippi, after the town's only financial institution abandoned it. It was a very vibrant bank branch, but it wasn't profitable enough for the bank, and so the bank closed that branch along with one in Edwards. And we worked with the mayor, with the townspeople, with the faith community and civic leaders who knew that without a financial institution, their community was going to decline, and they would see petty lenders and other predators come in and try to fill the gap. And so we were able to acquire the former bank branch and bring in members of the credit union. We opened the first ATM in town, and people are really excited about and taking ownership of not just any financial institution, but a financial institution that's community owned, and it's going to be there for their interest over time.
Now, I understand you're going to be on PBS Friday night.
That's what I understand. We were really had a good time on Need to
Know,
recording a Need to Know session where the kids were at the branch opening deposits, talking to the reporters, and talking about not just what they were going to do, but how their parents were actually having conversations with them about saving money.
Well, it's certainly interesting to think that 3 and 4-year-olds can start to understand and start to become involved and invested in saving and credit unions and all that. And I thank you for sharing that with us. Bill Bynum is CEO of the Hope Credit Union and Hope Enterprise Corporation. Thank you, Bill.